I'm Beth Perrell. Tim Pehlke is with me. He's the 4-H program coordinator for the Orange County Extension Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. So, Tim, we are going to let people know about the Milk Run, which is a fundraiser for 4-H. Here at the beginning, let's just let people know that that's coming up. Tell us when it is, where it's located, and all that.
Yeah, the Milk Run 5K is Saturday, February the 9th at 8 a.m. at the Orange County Extension Center in Orlando.
Okay.
That's near Orlando International Airport.
So, and this is a fundraiser to, pay for certain programs or?
All proceeds benefit the 4-H Scholarship Fund. That money from that goes to send kids to summer camp. It pays for day camps, sends kids to leadership workshops, as well as helping kids go to college.
Okay, good. Well, let's back up. Let's talk about 4-H. What are the principles of 4-H?
Okay. Well, 4-H has actually been around for almost 100 years in Orange County, and we're a youth development organization focused on education. And our three big program areas are science, leadership, and healthy living.
Science, leadership, and healthy living. And it's been around for 100 years. So tell me how it's evolved. What do you really focus on in those three areas?
Well, originally we got started as a way to kind of teach agricultural skills to kids. They actually weren't able to get adults to take on some of the newest concepts in agriculture. So they used the kids as a way to get to the parents. And over time, we've really evolved and become more of a full spectrum youth program. So we don't just do agriculture, but we actually have robotics, we have public speaking, a big inner city gardening program, a whole variety of different things focused on life skill development.
I have to admit, when I think of 4-H, though, I do think of that agriculture. Yeah. And I guess when I was growing up, that's what 4-H was focusing on in the area that I was in. Is it different from place to place, 4-H, and what you kind of take on is the big topic, or do the kids get an equal mix of each of those?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. One of the great things about 4-H is that 4-H is a volunteer-led youth educational program. So it really depends on what interests volunteers have in the community and also the types of things that are existing in the community. If you grew up in a rural area, you would see mostly agricultural programs. Here in Orlando, we have everything from rural, we have suburban, we even have urban programs. So it's a whole variety of different things.
And so for Orange County?
Orange County, yes.
What do you tend to focus on?
You
have all three of those.
We have all three, but our most popular program right now is robotics. We have over 100 kids in 9 robotics clubs across the community. We also have a big horseback riding program and an intercity gardening program that has really taken off called The Garden.
So robots to make the gardens, to do the weeding, or
we're still working on that one.
That to me is such a big leap, though, that you're going from agriculture or gardening to robotics. Yeah. And so when did that start popping up?
Well, probably the last 20 or 30 years. And one of the things about 4-H is it's very adaptive because kids' interests change over time. As societies become more suburban and urban, our programs have really shifted.
Do you, though, expose them to those other areas? Say somebody's in one of the robotics units. Do you still expose them? Yeah.
One of the great ways that we really kind of showcase our entire program is through the Central Florida Fair, which is coming up at the end of February and early March. So you get everything from kids demonstrating their robots to kids. We actually had a 10-year-old girl showing a 1,000-pound steer last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I think of, too, is, where I grew up, they also were raising animals. And so I think of that, too. That's so interesting that it's so diverse in what the kids are approaching. I mean, do they say to mom and dad, hey, wow, I want to raise a steer?
Yeah. That's usually, and, in terms of volunteers as well, that's usually how it starts out. Kids get interested in a topic. Think specifically of a kid in our program his name is Sam, and he has got interested in how do you grow a citrus tree. So, you did a little research and found out that we had a program where kids get a citrus tree in May and raise it over the course of the year and convince his mom to start a 4-H club.
Well, very neat. So he planted it in the backyard?
You actually get it in a little pot and you raise it. This is one of my favorite programs because you start out with a very small sapling and you raise it over the course of 9 months, and the trees go up for judging in January. The top trees are actually auctioned off at the fair. And I know, we've had kids it's $10 to buy a tree, and they turned that into over $600 down the road.
Wow. So they're actually getting business skills in there too.
A lot of entrepreneurship there.
Wow. Well, let's back up to the leadership component then. Okay. In any of those areas, I could see leaders emerging.
Yeah.
So how do you approach the topic of building leadership?
Well, all of our 4-H clubs have an officer structure where kids actually are in the situation where they work with an adult to plan what they'll talk about in the meeting, and then they learn parliamentary procedure and actually learn to lead meetings. So we have that component. We also really emphasize community service. All of our clubs do community service projects, and we also do a big countywide project as well each year.
Give me some examples of what that project would be.
Just some examples countywide. We've collected peanut butter. We've collected supplies for the Early Learning Coalition. And this spring we're planning a project with Russell Home.
And does it work the sort of usual way we expect, where people to get together so many times a month? And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
typically clubs meet twice a month. We have some groups that meet every week, though. It really depends on how in-depth their project is. We have groups that participate in FIRST Robotics, which is an international robotics competition. And they are actually in season right now. They go from really heavy, pretty much every day of the week from January all the way through April.
Wow. And what do the robots do? What kinds of things?
Well, each year it's built around a game, and each year it varies a little bit. This year is actually sort of a Frisbee football game, which you can imagine if you've ever seen Frisbee football, Frisbee golf, correct that. It's a Frisbee golf game, and the kids actually, they have a field, and the robots compete against each other.
That's pretty cool. What are some of the things they come up with to make that happen? I mean, grabbing arms or shooting things or what?
Every year is a little bit different. There's some years that there are actually obstacles on the course, so they have to tailor the tires just right to be able to get over the obstacles. There have been climbing arms. There have been they had a basketball contest one year, so there was actually a human component where you had to throw basketballs on the court, and the robots worked with them.
Oh, wow. And so they as a group decide what they want to make?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And, some groups only work on one thing, whether it be their robots or public speaking or cooking. But other groups, their project can change from year to year. So it's very, 4-H is very open. There are a lot of opportunities for kids to really explore different areas. And as their interests change over time, there's still a way for them to stay involved with the program.
Were you in 4-H growing up?
I actually wasn't. I knew about 4-H from the fair, and I had a lot of your ideas about what 4-H was, because that's what I grew up with. Was kids go to the fair, they show their animals. But actually, when I was in grad school at the University of Missouri, I got exposed to 4-H and really got interested in just a lot of the great opportunities that we have. And so I ended up down here in Florida, and I've been here about 5 years, and it's really a great opportunity to give back to the community. So
what is your role with it as that coordinator? Do you involve yourself with one group or all over the county, or what?
Well, my role is really the management of the program, and it's working to make sure that we have high-quality educational programs. Right now we have 31 4-H clubs in the community. Oversee our Tropicana public speaking program, which is in 8 schools right now. And we also have over 300 volunteers, and that's one of my big roles, is to make sure that we have a safe learning environment for our kids in our program, and to be able to really give them some of the tools that they need to be successful in their work with kids.
So let's talk a little bit more about that public speaking. I mean, literally, there are kids out there saying, I want to show up and learn public speaking skills.
Yes, we do a program called Tropicana Public Speaking, which is through 4th through 6th grades in the classroom, and it can be at public, private, or even homeschool environments. But it's basically a 5-part series of lessons where kids pick a topic, they do some research, and it culminates in a public speaking contest.
Really interesting, because I do picture teenagers, children. I do say, let's build a robot that shoots a basket, but going through that would be really good for them. I mean, I'm surprised that they take that on.
Yeah, kids really, our focus is life skill development. So really teaching the kids the ingredients they need to be successful as adults. So teaching kids things like character, being able to take personal responsibility, critical thinking skills, being able to work with not only their peers, but also with people that are older than them as well.
Well, tell me a little bit about the gardening, though. And you said you even have an urban gardening program.
Yeah, we have a program called The Garden, which is provided through a partnership with the City of Orlando and Chipotle Restaurants. And it's a 10-week educational program operating at 4 Orlando area community centers. And the focus is really on teaching kids life skills through gardening. And we provide kids get a container garden, which if you can imagine a big bucket. Well, they actually grow a little garden in that, and it's very portable. You can take it with you anywhere you go. You just got to make sure, just like any other plant, it has the nutrients it needs, and it has water and sunlight. So kids grow the ingredients to actually make a burrito, and then we harvest those things at the end and have a big celebration for the kids.
That is so great. I mean, even you think, well, you are in the city, so you don't need to know how to grow food, but I think that's a great lesson all along the way. Where does food come from? Yeah. How do you grow it yourself? And how do you cook it at the end for that burrito party?
Yeah. Really gardening is really kind of become a hot topic in youth programs nowadays, because it teaches kids so many different things. And, if you don't take care of your garden, it's not going to grow. So you have the responsibility component. You have the science side, which really nowadays, we're emphasizing developing science in kids to really meet our shortage of scientists and engineers. And then, with that, being able to work together in teams, because that's also a component of this as well.
Really good. And then the robotics, probably obviously the science, and working in teams.
Yeah, and really developing those critical thinking skills, because kids actually work together with professional engineers and computer programmers. Those are the adult volunteers in this program, and they work together to build this robot. So they're getting mentored throughout the process and learning some of the cutting edge techniques. We have volunteers from Lockheed Martin, Electronic Arts, and a lot of other engineering firms locally.
And by the way, we're saying kids, but what are the ages? You mentioned the 10-year-old.
That's an excellent question. 4-H is open to all youth ages 5 to 18.
5 to 18. Does anyone stay in from 5 to 18?
Well, our peak years are elementary and middle school, but we do have programs for high school students as well.
Well, for people just joining us, I am speaking to Tim Pehlke.
I got that right.
Tim is talking about 4-H, and a milk run is coming up. It's a fundraiser, so why don't you let us know again about the milk run?
Well, the milk run is an exciting running and walking event. It'll be Saturday, February the 9th at the Orange County Extension Center in Orlando. And it's actually an off-road race on the former T.G. Lee dairy property behind our office. And
the milk part of it, will there be milk at the end?
Yeah, we will have milk available at the end, and we really tried to go with the dairy theme because of the T.G. Lee connection. But we actually have some cows on the course, so you could take your camera with you as well.
Very good. So is there a phone number or a web address that you could give out?
They can contact our office at 407-254-9222 or visit our website, oc4-h.org.
Tell us about some of the projects that the kids have done over the past year or so that really stand out to you.
Okay. Well, I mentioned our robotics and as well as our gardening programs, but we do one of the things that I haven't talked a lot about is our animal science projects. We do have a very active horse program that we have about 75 kids that actually compete in our horse program during the year. We have a county as well as district, and kids can even go on to the state competition as well. And there's a lot of responsibility, again with raising a horse, but there's also a lot of horse science behind that as well, because these are animals, and kids really learn a lot about that as well.
Now, do they have their own horses at home, or is there some local person that's allowing them to come on site and work with the horses?
Well, it's a combination of those. Some kids have their own horse, which again can be a little more expensive. But we also have a horseless horse program where kids don't have to have a horse, but they can learn about having horses and also have some experience to be able to learn about how do you take care of a horse? What is the science behind that?
So when it comes to the agriculture part, is that the gardening?
Well, on the agriculture side, we have horseback riding. We have kids that raise a variety of different animals, everything from gerbils and rabbits to poultry. We have kids that raise sheep, raise goats, and even big 1,000-pound-plus steer.
And their parents are totally on board with it.
Some more than others, but it's really 4-H is very much a family program, and that's one of the things we emphasize is parents getting involved as volunteers. So it's something that the whole family can do together. At
a meeting, everybody can show up if they want. Mm-hmm. When they have those rabbits, everybody can help out with them. But I imagine a lot is on the shoulder of that child to take responsibility for the feeding and the cleaning and all that.
Yeah, kids. You can imagine an 8-year-old child, just what you learn taking care of a rabbit or a chicken. That's very much the life of that animal is in your hands. So it's something they get a lot of education along the way in terms of taking care of their animal. We just leave them on their own, but ultimately it's something that that child is responsible.
A moment ago you mentioned that there's such a focus now on gardens like inner city gardens and a lot of attention to children learning about that. I've heard so much about chickens, that people in cities living in tall buildings are still raising chickens. So that's really got a lot of focus now. Do you find that some of the kids who really don't have much of a backyard or whatever, zero lot line, are doing this?
Yeah, we've seen a big interest in small animal projects in recent years. And actually, the local chicken expert, Dennis Mudge, is at our office, so he does workshops for the kids sometimes on that.
So what does he keep in his office?
We've got some really cute pictures of him with chicken ears and things like that. We give him a hard time about it.
But you always know it's going to be for lunch if you go over there, right? Yeah. So back to some of the examples of the projects. You mentioned the horses and the orange tree and that kind of thing. So when they go to competition, what are they really looking to do? Say, for example, with that steer, is it all about weight, or are there other criteria that they're being judged by that they're focused on?
Well, I know, with our animal, if they're a market animal, the big emphasis is on the meat side. In terms of, if you go to the store, what they're looking for animals that are going to give you the best meat so that you can have your steaks and your lamb chops and me personally, my chicken breast.
I imagine they get hurt, though, when they've raised this wonderful creature and then it doesn't win the award.
Yeah, that and not only that, but with kids, in the market animals, they actually put the animals up for auction at the fair, and that can be a really emotional event for the kid because they've raised that animal for a year or more, and now they've got to say goodbye. So it can be a very touching thing to watch.
Really, you've seen this happen?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Even with the teenagers?
Yeah, sometimes
maybe especially with the teenagers.
Sometimes the teenagers more than others.
So what happens? They go up for auction and the money comes back to that child, or?
Yeah, and there's actually a great example of 4-H would be there was a child in Ohio that actually used her earnings from her animal science projects to buy a house.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's really looking ahead.
That's right.
So I imagine also what they are able to make from those, say, selling the tree or the chicken or the whatever, feeds back into next year's efforts.
Yeah, some kids, are more immediate gratification. They go buy the video game system, but others are. We actually had one kid that took his earnings and actually started his own business where he's raising his own line of cattle.
Wow. Well, what about the robots, though? They have competitions, you said, but they're not auctioning off the robots. So what happens there?
Well, the big local competition is at UCF in March during the student spring break. They actually take over the UCF arena for a day and have a competition with not only kids from the Central Florida region, but across the world. We've had kids from Russia, England, and other countries that have participated. But if you can imagine, basically a combination of a sporting event and rock concert all together, the kids have their crazy outfits on, team cheers, and everything. And the center of the attention is the field where you have robots. You have 4 robots competing in whether it be a basketball game or a version of a NASCAR race, or this year with the frisbee golf competition.
That is something. So again, every year it's a different challenge.
Yeah,
and they sign for the year to get there.
Yeah, and this program, First Robotics, was started by Dean Kamen, who's the inventor of the Segway. So it's really grown over the years. It's been around for over a decade now. That's
that little thing you stand on and the wheels are underneath you. I saw someone on one of those the other day.
Oh, really?
I'm like, it was going down the sidewalk or something.
Yeah, they're really cool. A lot of cops. I've seen a lot of policemen lately that have them, especially in downtown areas.
Yeah, and I guess you can fold them up or something.
Yeah.
And so we said, I thought of this. Let's see what the young people can think of.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about 4-H and that it's been around a long time and how it's really evolved into all these things to build strong leaders and all of that. Well, let's find out what happens in the end. Somebody hits that 18 mark. Mm-hmm. Do they come back as volunteers? I mean, do people stay really involved with 4-H?
Yeah, that's a great point. The Tufts University in Massachusetts actually has done a study about 4-H members, And they have really shown a lot of success down the road. Kids in 4-H are twice as likely to go to college. They're more likely to go in careers in science and technology. They're less likely to do things like the underage drinking and smoking and other things that aren't good for them. But we do have a very high percentage of 4-H youth that go back and become volunteers and really help shape the next generation of young people in this country.
How do people get involved? Do they give you a call?
Yeah. They can give our office a call. We have a lot of people that just drop by and request information, or they can visit our website where they'll find a list of our 4-H clubs.
And give out that website again.
Okay. That's www.oc4-h.org. And you'll find a club directory in the left sidebar.
And it doesn't matter which club you join as long as that they're doing what you want. It doesn't.
Yep.
There's no regional issue, right?
Yeah, we're really more of a cafeteria-style program in terms of we have some kids that are in 2 or 3 counties. It just depends on what works best for them and their family.
How about the age issue, though? Is it kind of broken down by, 5 through 8 or?
Well, it varies a little bit from club to club. If you have, some of our robotics competitions, you're talking more middle school and high school students. But we have clubs that are open from everything from 5-year-olds up to 18. And one of the cool things about those clubs is the older kids, our high school students, actually take on more of a leadership role in terms of doing some of the teaching and organizing the group. So those are really some of the more fun groups to go out and watch.
What is an average meeting like?
Well, average meeting contains 3 components. You start out with business, you go into an educational program, and you close out with recreation, which I always recommend that our clubs have a snack, because who doesn't like a snack at a club meeting?
A robot that will bake a snack that was made from something another group grew, right?
That's right. We're working on that one.
But so the business part of it might be just here are the materials we need, or here's when we're meeting for the next thing.
Yeah, in terms of upcoming meetings, one of the things we really encourage our clubs to do is to get involved with the community. So that might be a time where they talk about their community service project, or could be that they talk about, doing some promotional efforts in the community. We have a lot of groups that go out and do fairs and health fairs and things like that.
And then the part where they're learning something, you said the teenagers tend to lead those things. And what are some of the things they talk about?
Well, it depends on the club project area. But so, for example, if you're talking about robotics, you might have a lesson on some engineering concept. It could be, how do we program our robot to do, such and such movement? I know I went out to one of our clubs up in Apopka a few months back, and they actually have robots that it has a windmill. So they build a windmill, and it's a remote control. And so that, they demonstrated how to do that. We really focus on providing hands-on educational programs in 4-H.
And I'm sorry, what was the third part of the meeting?
Third part is recreation. So that's really taking what kids have learned and applying it in a fun way.
I forgot that part because I was fixated on snack, which you also brought up.
Yeah, all of our groups know that when you invite Tim loves the snack time.
Okay, so that's how a meeting goes down. And you said it's sort of a cafeteria style to find the right one for you. Yeah. And is this an okay time of year to do that?
Oh, yeah. You can join 4-H at any time. Our year starts in September, so if you do join now, just know that things are kind of already in process. But we welcome youth to join anytime during the year.
And tell us more about what will happen at the fairgrounds. I mean, can I go and watch the competition?
Oh, yes. The fair is coming up February 28th through March 10th at the Central Florida Fairgrounds in Orlando. And we have a building with exhibits that is open throughout the fair. And one of the big things this year that we're doing is on Saturday, March 2nd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., we're doing a special event called the Lego Education Showcase. And we'll actually have hands-on science activities as well as a Lego play area, which I am personally very happy about that. As Lego maniac when I was a kid,
still am.
Tons of Legos that kids can build all sorts of different things. And throughout the fair, we'll have different themes that kids can build on that night.
Okay, so is Legos the sponsor or just the
Lego is
fun?
The sponsor of that particular event on March 2nd.
Okay, so great way for people who maybe they're not going to join 4-H can really see what you're about, and that will inspire us perhaps to help you out with that fundraiser. So once again, let's talk about the Milk Run.
Okay, the Milk Run is Saturday, February the 9th at the Orange County Extension Center, Orlando. Registration is $20 up through January 25th, and after that it'll be $25.
And what haven't I asked you about 4-H or about the event that you'd like to mention?
Well, I think the big thing to emphasize is, 4-H is a lot of fun. Even though we do learning, we try to do things in a way that, it's fun for everyone.
Okay. And once again, the phone number and the website to look at those programs?
You can contact the 4-H office at 407-254-9222 or visit our website, www.oc4-h.org.
And it sounds like someone really has to make a decision. I mean, all of those things sound so much fun.
Huh.
I would want to do them all.
Yeah, one of the things we really encourage our kids to do is to try out, different things and see what's the best fit for them. And we really, as I mentioned, we have an opportunity for kids to really, kids' interests tend to change over time. You have the kid that plays the violin, and the next week they're playing football. So, this is a type of program you can get involved, and as kids' interests change over time, there's still a place for them in the 4-H program.
Tim Pehlke, he's the 4-H program coordinator for the Orange County Extension Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. I'm Beth Perrell.